Tell us in the comments which city you're listening from. Click the like button, and let's begin the story. Lucas had learned to count time by the church bells. 6 in the morning, first bell. Wake up. Cold water on the face. Stale bread for breakfast. 9 o'clock, second bell. Morning prayers. Knees on stone floor. Voices echoing against walls that never held warmth. Noon, third bell. Watered soup. Silence at the table. Eyes down. 3 in the afternoon, fourth bell. Work. Scrubbing floors. Washing windows. Mending clothes worn thin by too many children. 6 in the evening, fifth bell. Evening prayers. More kneeling. More cold. 9 at night, final bell. Sleep. Darkness. Dreams of somewhere else. Lucas was 13 years old, and he had been counting bells for 5 years. The church stood alone on a mountain ridge, surrounded by pine forests that whispered constantly in the wind. It was built from gray stone, with narrow windows that let in little light, and hallways that always felt like winter even in summer. Sister Magdalena ran the place with absolute silence. She never raised her voice. She never needed to. Her eyes did all the speaking. Cold, pale blue eyes that could freeze a child mid-step. There were 43 children living in the church. Boys and girls between the ages of 5 and 14. All of them had arrived the same way, brought by distant relatives who could not afford to keep them, delivered by social workers who asked no questions, or simply left at the front door in the middle of the night with nothing but a name pinned to their shirts. The sisters called it a place of refuge. Lucas called it a cage. He had learned early not to ask questions, not to complain, not to cry where anyone could see. Children who caused problems were sent to the cellar for days. Children who persisted simply disappeared during the night, and their beds were filled by new faces before anyone could ask what had happened. Lucas had watched 11 children vanish over 5 years. He knew the pattern. First, the visitors would arrive. Always at night. Always well-dressed. Always speaking in low voices with Sister Magdalena in her private office. Then a child would be called, told to pack their few belongings, told they were going to a family, a better place, a new opportunity. Lucas had believed it the first time. He had even felt envious. But then he noticed something the adults did not realize a 13-year-old would see. The children never looked happy when they left. They looked terrified. And none of them ever sent letters. None of them ever came back to visit. None of them existed anywhere after walking out that front door. Lucas had tried to tell Sister Magdalena once, 3 years ago. "Sister, where did Maria go?" She said she would write to me. Sister Magdalena had looked at him with those frozen eyes. "Maria is with her new family, Lucas. She is happy. You should pray for such an opportunity yourself, instead of asking inappropriate questions." That night, Lucas had been sent to the cellar for a week. He never asked again. But he started watching, listening, remembering. And when Samuel arrived 3 weeks ago, Lucas saw something that made his blood turn cold. Samuel was 9 years old, small for his age, dark curly hair, eyes that were still soft, still believed adults would protect him. His parents had died in a house fire. He had been found by neighbors, wrapped in a blanket on the street, clutching a melted photograph. He cried every night, quiet, broken sobs that he tried to muffle under his thin blanket. Lucas's bed was next to Samuel's in the boys' dormitory. 18 iron beds lined up in 2 rows. 18 silent children who had learned that comfort was not permitted. On Samuel's first night, Lucas had whispered across the darkness, "If you cry where they can hear, they'll punish you." Samuel had tried to stop, but grief is not something a 9-year-old can control. Over the following weeks, Lucas found himself protecting Samuel in small ways. Sharing his bread when Samuel was too sad to eat. Taking the blame when Samuel accidentally broke a glass. Teaching him which hallways to avoid, which sisters were the cruelest, which hours were safest to breathe. Samuel had started to look at Lucas the way a younger brother looks at an older one, with trust, with hope. And that was why Lucas knew he had to act when he overheard the conversation. It was a Tuesday night, 2 weeks after Samuel's arrival. Lucas had been sent to deliver clean linens to Sister Magdalena's office. The door was partially open, and he heard voices inside. A man's voice. Deep. Formal. "We need a young one this time. Preferably under 10. Easier to train." Sister Magdalena's voice, calm as always. "I have a recent arrival. 9 years old. No family asking questions. Perfect for your purposes." "Excellent. We'll collect him Friday morning." The usual payment. Lucas had frozen in the hallway, the stack of linens trembling in his hands. They were talking about Samuel. He set the linens down silently and returned to the dormitory, his heart pounding so loudly he feared it would wake the other children. Friday morning. 2 days away. Lucas lay awake that entire night, staring at the ceiling, listening to Samuel's quiet breathing in the next bed. He had 2 choices. Do nothing. Let Samuel disappear like the others. Survive by staying invisible. Or risk everything to save one child. By dawn, Lucas had made his decision. He was going to get Samuel out. But he knew the truth that Samuel did not yet understand. 2 children running would be noticed immediately. 2 children would be caught. 1 child alone, small, frightened, might have a chance. Lucas spent the next day preparing in secret. During work hours, he stole a loaf of bread from the kitchen and hid it under his mattress. During prayers, he memorized the schedule of when each sister would be occupied. During the evening meal, he studied the back door near the chapel, the one that was never locked because it led to the graveyard, and no child ever went there willingly. That night, after the final bell, Lucas waited until the dormitory was silent. Then he leaned close to Samuel's bed and whispered, "Samuel, wake up. Don't make a sound." Samuel's eyes opened, confused and frightened. "Lucas, what's wrong?" "Listen to me carefully. Tomorrow morning, men are coming to take you away. Not to a family. Somewhere bad. I heard them talking." Samuel's face went pale even in the darkness. "What do I do?" "You're leaving tonight. Right now." Lucas pulled out the bread, wrapped in cloth, and a piece of paper he had drawn on with a stolen pencil. "This is a map. Follow the road east until you reach the old train station. It's abandoned. Hide there until morning. Then keep walking toward the town. Find police. Find anyone. But don't come back here." Samuel was trembling. "Come with me." Lucas shook his head. "2 of us will get caught. 1 of us has a chance." "But what about you?" "I'll be fine. I know how to handle them. You don't." It was a lie, and Lucas knew it. But it was a lie worth telling. He helped Samuel dress in the darkness, handed him the bread and the map, led him silently through the dormitory, past the sleeping children, down the narrow stone staircase. They moved like ghosts through the hallways, past the chapel, where candles still flickered, past the sisters' quarters, where faint snoring could be heard, to the back door that opened onto the graveyard. Lucas pushed the door open slowly. Cold night air rushed in. Outside, the moon was barely a sliver. The graveyard stretched into shadows. Beyond it, the forest. Beyond that, the road. Samuel looked up at Lucas, tears streaming down his face. "I don't want to leave you." Lucas crouched down, gripping Samuel's shoulders. "Listen to me. You're going to run as fast as you can. Don't stop. Don't look back. No matter what you hear. Promise me." Samuel nodded, unable to speak. Lucas pulled him into a tight hug, the first real embrace either of them had felt in years. "You're going to be okay," Lucas whispered. "You're going to have a real life. You're going to be free." Then he let go, pushed Samuel gently through the door. "Run." Samuel ran. Lucas watched him disappear into the darkness, a small shadow swallowed by the night. Then he closed the door, returned to the dormitory, climbed into his bed, and waited for the bells to ring in the morning, knowing that when they discovered Samuel was gone, all eyes would turn to him, knowing he would be punished, knowing it was worth it, because some doors close behind you, but some doors you hold open for someone else, even if it means you can't walk through. Samuel ran until his lungs burned and his legs felt like they would collapse beneath him. He had never been outside the church grounds alone. never walked these roads, never felt this kind of freedom mixed with terror. The map Lucas had drawn was simple: a line representing the road, a square marking the church, another square farther east marking the train station. Follow the road. Don't stop. Samuel clutched the map and the bread against his chest and kept running. The moon gave almost no light. The forest on both sides of the road was a wall of black. Every sound made him flinch. The wind through the trees, the cry of an owl, his own footsteps on gravel. He thought about Lucas. Lucas, who had shared his bread, who had whispered warnings, who had sacrificed his own chance to escape. Samuel wanted to go back, wanted to grab Lucas and drag him along, but he had made a promise. Don't look back. So he ran forward. After what felt like hours, his legs finally gave out. He collapsed on the side of the road, gasping, shivering from cold and exhaustion. The bread Lucas had given him was crushed from being held so tightly, but Samuel ate it anyway, forcing down bites between ragged breaths. He studied the map again, though it was almost too dark to see. He had been running east. The road continued in a straight line. The station could not be much farther. Samuel stood on trembling legs and kept walking. Dawn was just beginning to touch the horizon when he saw it. The old train station. It rose out of the mist like a ghost. A stone building with broken windows. A platform overrun with weeds. Rusted tracks stretching into the distance, leading nowhere. And lined up along a side track were train cars. Old, abandoned, covered in graffiti and decay. Samuel approached cautiously. The station building itself was too exposed. If anyone came looking, they would search there first. But the train cars, there were 6 of them. Some were open boxcars, empty and rotting. Others were tankers, sealed and rusted shut. And at the end of a line was a refrigerated car. Samuel recognized it from pictures he had seen in school, back when he still went to school, back when his parents were alive. It was a large metal box on wheels, designed to keep food cold during transport. The sides were dented and streaked with rust, but the structure was still intact. The door was partially open. Samuel climbed onto the platform and approached carefully. The door was heavy, sliding on a track. He pulled it a little wider and peered inside. Darkness. But it was shelter. Hidden. Enclosed. Safe. Samuel climbed inside. The interior smelled like metal and old ice. The floor was solid, though covered in a thin layer of dust and debris. Faint light came through a few small gaps in the ceiling where the metal had corroded. Samuel explored carefully, running his hands along the walls. In one corner, he found something unexpected. Blankets. Old, dirty, but still intact. Rolled up and stacked as if someone had stored them there deliberately. And next to the blankets, empty cans. Food cans. Recent enough that the labels were still readable. Someone had been here. Recently. Samuel felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this place was known. Maybe someone kind lived here. Maybe he was not as alone as he thought. He spread out one of the blankets and sat down, wrapping it around his shoulders. The exhaustion hit him all at once. He had been awake for an entire night, running, terrified, grieving. His eyes began to close. Just a few minutes of rest, he told himself. Just until the sun is fully up. Then he would keep moving. Find the town. Find help. Just a few minutes. Samuel lay down on the blanket, curled into a ball, and let sleep take him. He did not hear the wind shift outside. He did not hear the door of the refrigerated car slide along its track. He did not hear the heavy metallic bang as it slammed shut. When Samuel woke, he was in complete darkness. For a moment, he did not remember where he was. Then the cold hit him. Not the cold of the mountain air. Not the cold of the stone church. This was different. This was the cold of a sealed metal box. A cold that sucked the warmth from his skin. A cold that pressed against him from all sides. Samuel sat up, disoriented, his breath visible in small clouds even though he could not see them. "Hello," he called out. His voice echoed strangely in the enclosed space. Silence. He stood up, stumbling in the darkness, and reached out until his hands found the wall. He moved along it, feeling his way, until he reached the door. He pushed. It did not move. He pushed harder. Nothing. Panic began to rise in his chest. "Hey," he shouted. "I'm in here. Someone help." He pounded on the metal door with both fists. The sound was dull, swallowed by the thick walls. He kept pounding, kept shouting, "Please. I'm stuck. Help me." Minutes passed. No response. No sound from outside, except the faint whistle of wind. Samuel sank to the floor, his heart racing. The door had closed by itself, or someone had closed it. Either way, he was trapped. He forced himself to breathe slowly, to think. Lucas had taught him to stay calm when things went wrong. "Panic makes you stupid," Lucas had said once. "Think first. Panic later." Samuel crawled back to where the blankets were and wrapped himself tightly. The cold was getting worse. He could feel it seeping into his bones. He tried to remember everything he knew about refrigerated train cars. They were designed to seal tightly to keep the cold in, which meant air could not get in easily either. Samuel's breathing quickened again. How long could he survive in here? Hours? Days? He forced the thought away. Someone would come. Someone had to come. The station was abandoned, but people must pass by sometimes. Travelers. Workers. Someone. He just had to wait. And stay warm. And breathe slowly to conserve air. Samuel pulled the blanket tighter and closed his eyes, trying to ignore the cold, trying to ignore the fear. Time became meaningless in the darkness. He did not know if minutes or hours were passing. He drifted in and out of sleep, shivering violently each time he woke. At some point, he realized he could no longer feel his fingers. At some point, he stopped shivering, which he dimly remembered was a bad sign. At some point, he began to hallucinate. He saw Lucas standing in the corner of the car, smiling. "You made it," Lucas said. "You're safe now." Samuel tried to answer, but his lips would not move. He saw his parents, his mother reaching out to him, his father holding the photograph that had melted in the fire. "We're proud of you," his mother whispered. Samuel wanted to cry, but he had no tears left. He closed his eyes, and then he heard it. A voice. Faint. Distant. Real. "Anyone there?" Samuel's eyes snapped open. He tried to shout, but his voice came out as a broken rasp. He crawled toward the door, using the last of his strength, and pounded weakly against the metal. "Here," he croaked. "I'm here." Silence. Then louder. "Hold on, kid. I hear you." The sound of metal scraping against metal. Someone was trying to open the door from the outside. Samuel pressed his face against the cold floor, gasping. "Please," he whispered. "Please." More scraping. Grunting. The screech of rusted metal being forced. And then a sliver of light. Blinding after so long in darkness. The door slid open halfway, and cold fresh air rushed in. Samuel looked up, squinting against the light. A figure stood silhouetted in the opening. An old man, thin, wearing layers of ragged clothing, a long gray beard, eyes that had seen too much. "Jesus, kid," the man breathed. "How long you been in here?" Samuel tried to answer, but his body had stopped obeying him. The old man climbed into the car, moving with surprising agility, and crouched beside Samuel. "You're frozen half to death," he muttered, wrapping his own coat around Samuel's shoulders. "Can you walk?" Samuel shook his head weakly. "All right, I got you." The old man lifted Samuel with wiry strength, carrying him like a father carries a sleeping child, and climbed out of the refrigerated car. The morning sun was fully up now, and the warmth of it on Samuel's face felt like a miracle. The old man carried him across the platform, through the overgrown weeds, and into the forest on the far side of the tracks. After several minutes of walking, they reached a small clearing where a makeshift shelter had been built. A structure of tarps and wooden pallets. A fire pit with embers still glowing. The old man set Samuel down gently near the fire and began adding wood, coaxing the flames back to life. "Name's Gabriel," the old man said. "And you just about died in that train car, kid. What the hell were you doing in there?" Samuel's teeth were chattering too hard to speak. Gabriel wrapped more blankets around him and handed him a dented metal cup filled with warm water from a pot that had been sitting near the fire. "Drink." "Slow." Samuel obeyed, feeling the warmth spread through his chest. After several minutes, his shivering began to ease. Gabriel sat across from him, studying his face. "You ran away from somewhere," he said. It was not a question. Samuel nodded. "The church." Samuel's eyes widened. Gabriel's expression darkened. "I know that place," he said quietly. "I know what happens there." He poked at the fire with a stick, sending sparks into the air. "I was one of you, kid. Long time ago. 40 years, maybe more. I lived in that church when I was about your age." Samuel stared at him. You escaped?" Gabriel nodded slowly. "Escaped. Survived. Barely." He looked up at Samuel with eyes that carried decades of pain. "They told me I was going to a family. Put me in a car with 2 men I'd never seen before. Drove for hours. When we stopped, it wasn't a family waiting. It was a factory. They put me to work making shoes. 12 hours a day. No pay. No school. Just work." Samuel's hands tightened around the cup. "I was there for 3 years before I got away. Ran during a delivery. Hid in the back of a truck. Ended up in a city I didn't know. Lived on the streets ever since." Gabriel's voice was flat, emotionless, as if he were talking about someone else's life. "I went back to that church once. Years later. Thought maybe I could report them. Get them shut down. But they had lawyers. Documents. Connections. I was just a homeless man with no proof. No one believed me." He looked at Samuel. "How'd you get out?" "My friend," Samuel whispered. "Lucas. He helped me escape. He stayed behind so I could run." Gabriel nodded slowly, understanding. "Your friend's a brave kid." "I have to go back for him," Samuel said suddenly. "I can't just leave him there. Kid, if you go back, they'll never let you leave again. Then I'll find help. Real help. Police. Someone." Gabriel laughed bitterly. "The police know about that church. Half of them get paid to look the other way." Samuel felt despair rising again. "So there's nothing I can do?" Gabriel was quiet for a long moment, staring into the fire. Then he spoke. "There might be one person." He reached into one of his many coat pockets and pulled out a wrinkled business card, faded and stained but still readable. "A lawyer. Her name's Elena Ruiz. She works with an organization that investigates child trafficking. I met her a few years back when she was researching cases in this region. Gave me this card. Told me if I ever heard about kids in trouble, I should call her." He handed the card to Samuel. "I never called. Figured no one would listen to me anyway. But you're young. You escaped. You have proof they're still operating." Samuel looked at the card. "Elena Ruiz, attorney at law. Specializing in human rights and child protection. A phone number. An address in the city, hours away. How do I reach her?" Samuel asked. "There's a town about 2 hours walk from here. Got a police station, a post office, phones. We go there, we call her, we tell her what's happening." Gabriel leaned forward. "But you gotta understand, kid. Once we make that call, things are gonna move fast. They're gonna ask you questions. They're gonna want details. And the people at that church are gonna know someone talked." "I don't care," Samuel said. "Lucas saved me. Now I have to save him." Gabriel studied him for a moment, then nodded. "All right. Rest today. Get your strength back. Tomorrow morning, we walk to town." That night, Samuel lay by the fire, wrapped in blankets, staring up at the stars through the gaps in the tarp. He thought about Lucas. Wondered if he was being punished. Wondered if he was safe. He thought about the refrigerated train car that had almost become his tomb. He thought about all the children still trapped in that cold stone church, waiting for rescue that might never come. And he made a promise to himself. He was going to expose what was happening. He was going to make sure no more children disappeared. And he was going to bring Lucas home. Because some doors close by themselves. But some doors need to be kicked open. And Samuel was ready to start kicking. The walk to town took longer than Gabriel had estimated. Samuel was still weak from his time in the refrigerated car, and they had to stop frequently for him to rest. But by mid-afternoon, they reached the edge of a small town that Samuel did not recognize. It was nothing like the isolated mountain where the church stood. This place had paved streets, shops with glass windows, people walking casually in the sunlight. Normal life. Samuel had almost forgotten what that looked like. Gabriel led him to a public phone outside a small grocery store. "You got any money?" Gabriel asked. Samuel shook his head. Gabriel sighed and dug through his pockets, pulling out a handful of coins. "This should be enough for a call." He handed Samuel the business card and the coins. "You make the call. You tell her everything. I'll wait here." Samuel approached the phone with trembling hands. He had never made a phone call by himself before. He picked up the receiver, inserted the coins, and carefully dialed the number on the card. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a woman's voice answered. "Elena Ruiz, how can I help you?" Samuel's throat tightened. "My name is Samuel," he managed to say. "I escaped from a church in the mountains. They were going to sell me. My friend is still there. Please, you have to help him." There was a pause on the other end. Then the woman's voice, sharper now, more focused. "Samuel, where are you right now?" "I'm in a town. I don't know the name. There's a grocery store and—" "Ask someone the name of the town." Samuel turned to Gabriel, who was watching from a distance. "What town is this?" "San Miguel," Gabriel called back. "San Miguel," Samuel repeated into the phone. "All right, Samuel. Listen to me very carefully. I want you to go to the police station in San Miguel. Tell them you need protection. Tell them you're a witness in a child trafficking case and that attorney Elena Ruiz is on her way. Can you do that?" "Yes. Do not tell them which church you came from until I arrive. Do you understand? Some local police might be compromised. Wait for me." "How long?" "I'm 3 hours away. I'm leaving right now. Go to the police station. Stay there. I'll find you." The line went dead. Samuel hung up and turned to Gabriel. "She's coming. She said to go to the police station." Gabriel looked uneasy. "I don't do well with police, kid. You don't have to come in. Just show me where it is." Gabriel nodded slowly. They walked through the town until they reached a small building with a faded sign, Policia Municipal. Gabriel stopped at the corner. "This is as far as I go." Samuel looked at him. "Thank you," he said. "You saved my life." Gabriel shrugged. "Maybe you'll save someone else's someday. That's how it works." He turned to leave, then paused. "Your friend Lucas. He's lucky to have you." Then he disappeared into the streets, a ghost returning to the shadows. Samuel took a deep breath and walked into the police station. Inside, a middle-aged officer sat behind a desk, filling out paperwork. He looked up when Samuel entered. "Can I help you, kid?" "My name is Samuel. I need protection. I'm a witness in a child trafficking case. Attorney Elena Ruiz is coming to meet me here." The officer's expression changed immediately. He stood up. "Sit down," he said, gesturing to a bench. "Don't move." He disappeared into a back room. Samuel sat, his heart pounding. Minutes passed. The officer returned with another man, older, wearing a captain's uniform. "I'm Captain Morales," the man said. "You said something about child trafficking? I escaped from a place where they were going to sell me. My friend helped me get away. He's still there. Attorney Ruiz told me to wait here for her." Captain Morales exchanged a look with the other officer. "Where is this place?" "I can't say until the attorney arrives. She told me not to." The captain's eyes narrowed. "Son, if children are in danger, we need to know now." Samuel remembered Elena Ruiz's warning. Some local police might be compromised. "I'll tell her when she gets here," Samuel said firmly. Captain Morales stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right. You wait here." He turned to the other officer. "Call the city. Verify there's an attorney named Elena Ruiz heading this way." The hours that followed were the longest of Samuel's life. He sat on the hard bench, watching officers come and go, wondering if he had made a mistake trusting them. wondering if Lucas was all right, wondering if this attorney would actually come. And then, just as the sun was beginning to set, the door opened. A woman walked in, mid-30s, sharp business suit, leather briefcase, eyes that missed nothing. She scanned the room until she saw Samuel. "You must be Samuel," she said, walking directly to him. Samuel nodded. Elena Ruiz crouched down to his level. "You did the right thing calling me," she said. "Now I need you to tell me everything." Captain Morales approached. "Attorney Ruiz, I presume?" "Captain," she said curtly, standing. "This child is under my legal protection as of this moment. Any questioning will be conducted in my presence." The captain's jaw tightened. "We're just trying to help." "Then you'll help by giving us a private room." Morales hesitated, then gestured to a small office. "In there." Elena guided Samuel inside and closed the door. She sat across from him and pulled out a recorder. "I'm going to record this. Is that all right?" Samuel nodded. "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning." And Samuel did. He told her about the church, the sisters, the children who disappeared, Lucas overhearing the conversation, the escape, the train car, Gabriel, everything. Elena listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with every detail. When Samuel finished, she stopped the recording. "Samuel, what you've just described is a highly organized trafficking operation. This isn't just one corrupt church. This is part of a network." She opened her briefcase and pulled out files. "I've been investigating rumors about this place for 2 years. But I've never had a witness. No one who escaped has ever come forward." She looked at Samuel. "You're the first." "What happens now?" Samuel asked. "Now we move fast. I'm going to contact federal authorities. We're going to organize a raid on that church. We're going to get Lucas and every other child out of there." "When?" "Tonight, if possible. Tomorrow morning at the latest." Elena stood. "But I need you to stay here. Stay safe. Let the professionals handle this." "No," Samuel said. "I'm coming." "Samuel." "Lucas stayed behind so I could escape. I'm not abandoning him." Elena studied him for a moment. Then she nodded. "All right. But you stay in the vehicle. You don't go near the church until it's secure." "Agreed." "Agreed." Elena opened the door and called to Captain Morales. "I need to use your phone. And I need you to clear this station. No one talks about this conversation. Understood?" Morales nodded stiffly. Elena made a series of rapid phone calls. Federal Police, Child Protection Services, a judge she knew personally. By midnight, a convoy of vehicles had assembled outside the San Miguel police station. Federal agents, social workers, medical personnel, and Samuel sitting in the back of Elena Ruiz's car, staring out the window at the dark mountains. Somewhere up there, Lucas was waiting. Samuel had kept his promise not to look back. Now he was coming back. And he was bringing an army. The convoy moved through the mountain roads in silence, headlights cutting through the darkness. Samuel sat in the back of Attorney Ruiz's vehicle, watching the landscape pass. Every curve in the road was familiar. He had run this path just days ago, terrified and alone. Now he was returning. Elena sat in the front passenger seat, speaking quietly into a radio. "All units, remember this is a rescue operation, not a raid. The priority is the safety of the children. Minimal force unless absolutely necessary." Static crackled back. "Copy that. ETA 15 minutes. Samuel's heart pounded. 15 minutes. Elena turned to look at him. "When we arrive, you stay in this car. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, you stay here until I come back for you. Understood?" "Yes." But Samuel's fingers were already gripping the door handle. The church appeared on the horizon exactly as Samuel remembered it. Gray stone rising against the night sky. Narrow windows glowing faintly with candlelight. The bell tower standing like a silent sentinel. The convoy stopped about 100 meters from the main entrance. Officers exited their vehicles quietly, moving into position. Elena stepped out, then leaned back in. Stay here, Samuel. I mean it. She closed the door and joined the other agents. Samuel watched through the window as they approached the church. The front door was locked. One of the agents knocked firmly. Federal police. Open the door. Silence. Another knock, louder. This is the federal police. We have a warrant. Open the door now. A light appeared in one of the upper windows. Then another. Finally, the front door opened. Sister Magdalena stood in the doorway, dressed in her night robes, her pale blue eyes reflecting the flashlight beams. Officers, what is the meaning of this intrusion at such an hour? Elena stepped forward, holding up a document. We have a warrant to search these premises and to interview all children currently residing here. Step aside. Sister Magdalena did not move. On whose authority? Federal Judge Ramirez. Step aside, sister, or you will be arrested for obstruction. For a moment, it seemed Sister Magdalena would resist. Then she stepped back, her expression cold. As you wish. The agents entered the church, spreading through the hallways. Samuel could hear their voices echoing, muffled by distance. Check all the rooms. Wake the children gently. Don't frighten them. Find the records office. Minutes passed like hours. Samuel pressed his face against the car window, straining to see. Then he heard it. A voice he recognized. Shouting, "Get your hands off me. You have no right." Sister Magdalena. And then, from somewhere inside the church, the sound of children crying. Samuel could not stay in the car any longer. He pushed the door open and ran toward the church. An officer tried to stop him at the entrance. "Kid, you can't." "I live here," Samuel shouted. "Let me through." Elena appeared in the hallway. "It's all right," she told the officer. "Let him in." Samuel rushed inside. The church was chaos. Children in nightclothes were being led out of the dormitories by social workers, wrapped in blankets, confused and frightened. Sisters were being questioned by agents in different corners of the building. And then Samuel saw him, Lucas, standing in the hallway near the dormitory entrance, his face bruised, his lips split, but alive. Lucas. Lucas turned, and his eyes went wide. Samuel? They ran toward each other and collided in an embrace. Lucas was shaking. "I thought you were gone. I thought you made it." "I did," Samuel said, his voice breaking. "And I came back for you." Lucas pulled back, staring at him. "You came back. I told you I would." An agent approached. "Are you Lucas?" Lucas nodded, still dazed. "We need to get you checked by a medic. You're injured." But Lucas did not move. He was staring at Samuel as if he were seeing a ghost. "You really came back," he whispered. Elena stepped forward, crouching beside both boys. "Lucas, my name is Elena Ruiz. I'm an attorney. Samuel told me what you did for him. You saved his life." Lucas shook his head. "I just gave him a chance." "And he gave you one back," Elena said. "You're both free now. All of you." She gestured to the other children being led outside. "This place is finished. No one is ever coming back here." Over the next hours, the scope of what had been happening became clear. In Sister Magdalena's office, agents found ledgers documenting years of transactions. Names, ages, prices. 43 children currently in residence. Hundreds more who had passed through over the decades. Destination addresses, contact names, payment records. It was a trafficking network that had been operating for over 30 years. Sister Magdalena was arrested along with 2 other sisters who had been complicit. The remaining sisters, younger ones who had genuinely believed they were helping orphans, were questioned and released. The children were taken to a temporary shelter in the city, where they would receive medical care, counseling, and eventually be placed with foster families or relatives. Samuel and Lucas stayed together throughout the process. They refused to be separated. Elena made sure they were placed in the same foster home temporarily, with a family experienced in trauma care. 3 days later, Samuel and Lucas sat in Elena's office in the city. "I have news," Elena said. She placed 2 files on the desk. "Lucas, we located your aunt, your mother's sister. She's been looking for you for 5 years. She thought you had died in the same accident that killed your parents." Lucas stared at the file. "My aunt. She lives in Monterey. She has 3 children of her own. She wants you to come live with her." Lucas opened the file slowly, looking at photographs of a smiling woman with children. A real family. Elena turned to Samuel. "Samuel, your case is more complicated. We haven't been able to locate any living relatives." Samuel's heart sank. "But," Elena continued, "there's a family who wants to adopt you. They're a couple who lost their son 3 years ago. They've been waiting for the right child. And when they heard your story, they want to meet you." She slid the second file across the desk. Samuel opened it. A photograph of a man and woman standing in front of a small house with a garden. They looked kind. They looked like the parents in his melted photograph. "They live here in the city," Elena said. "You'd stay in school. You'd have your own room. A real home." Samuel looked at Lucas. "Will I still see you?" Lucas nodded. "My aunt lives just a few hours away. We can visit." Elena smiled. "I'll make sure of it." Samuel stared at the photograph. A new family. A new life. He thought about the refrigerated train car that had almost killed him. He thought about Gabriel, the old man who had saved him. He thought about Lucas, who had sacrificed everything. And he thought about all the children who were still out there, trapped waiting. "Attorney Ruiz," Samuel said quietly. "Yes." "When I'm older, can I do what you do?" Elena looked at him with surprise. "Help children?" "Yes." She reached across the desk and placed her hand over his. "Samuel, I think you'd be extraordinary at it." Lucas smiled. "He already is." 2 weeks later, Samuel stood in the living room of his new home. The couple who adopted him, Carlos and Maria, had prepared everything. A bedroom painted blue, bookshelves filled with stories, a desk by the window, warm blankets, soft pillows, everything a child should have. That night, Maria tucked him into bed for the first time. "Are you comfortable?" she asked gently. Samuel nodded, though his eyes were wet. "What's wrong, sweetie?" "I'm not sad," Samuel whispered. I forgot what this feels like." Maria sat on the edge of the bed. What feels like?" "Safe." She pulled him into a hug, and Samuel let himself cry for the first time since his parents had died. Not tears of fear, not tears of grief, tears of relief. Because some doors close by themselves. Some doors trap you in the cold and dark. But some doors open into warmth. And Samuel had finally walked through one.